now. This is WTWO News at 11.
A single vehicle crash in Sullivan County claims the life of a local man. What police say happened.
This issue is all across the state. There's lots of neighborhoods that don't have local water service.
Officials are gauging interest about potentially expanding water services in a North Terre Haute neighborhood.
Many of your delegation today, I think, continue to gain in seniority.
Plus, we share a sit-down interview with Vice President Mike Pence's former chief of staff as he looks ahead to the November midterms. Thanks for watching our late news. One person was killed in a single vehicle wreck earlier today in Sullivan County. The wreck happened on State Road 63 near the intersection of County Road 1075 North. That's just a bit north of the community of Fairbanks. Indiana State Police say a pickup truck driven by 70-year-old Alan Clough of Shelburne was headed northbound. A structural issue with the truck caused him to lose control of the vehicle. It ran off the road and rolled over. Police say he died in the crash. State Road 63 in that area was shut down for a time while crews responded to the scene. A Sullivan County man is accused of child abuse, and he has been taken into custody by the Duggar Police Department. Prosecutors say the Sullivan County Department of Child Services investigated an allegation of child abuse on August 25th. Upon further investigation, 28-year-old Aaron Head of Duggar was arrested at his home. He was brought to the Sullivan County Jail without incident. He is being charged with domestic battery on a child under 14 as well as neglect of a dependent. Indiana abortion clinic operators filed a lawsuit to block the state's near total ban on abortion. It's set to take effect on September 1st. The lawsuit was filed in Monroe County Court. It claims the ban would violate the state's constitution by infringing on a right to privacy and the guarantee of equal privileges. Indiana lawmakers approved the restrictions on August 5th, making it the first state to do so since the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. The Indiana law bans abortions except in cases of rape and incest or to protect the life and physical health of the mother. A mysterious search in Miami County continued today with investigators from the Indiana State Police combing through a section of the Wabash River. As we've previously reported, this search has been linked to the Delphi murder investigation by a podcast that reports on the killings. Max Lewis was there today as the search continued.
Members of the Indiana State Police have spent the last couple weeks searching through the shallow waters of the Wabash River in Peru. They were back at it today using metal detectors and scuba gear, and it appears they still haven't found whatever they're looking for.
They started kind of on this side, and it was the first day I walked by, there was maybe 10 guys all in the same outfits, and I was kind of curious what was going on.
Dave Noonan walks on the trails that pass by the search area nearly every day.
And then as the time progresses, they've kind of worked their way out. And of course, you notice all the state police cars over here on the side.
The search area is just 2 miles from the home of Kagan Klein, which was raided in the weeks after the bodies of Abby Williams and Libby German were discovered in Delphi. Klein's name first surfaced when, according to court documents, investigators allege he was communicating via social media with Libby the night before the girls were killed and made plans to meet the 14-year-old on the bridge during a day off from school. Klein is currently facing dozens of charges for child porn and has been linked to the Delphi investigation, but has not been charged with the murders.
Our understanding from anonymous sources is that that search is connected to something involving Kagan Klein.
The Murder Sheet podcast recently uncovered court filings that show Klein was temporarily transferred to Indiana State Police custody earlier this month. Following that transfer, the search of the river began, and the podcasters were there as it started.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious on what they're doing.
Indiana State Police wouldn't comment on what they're doing here or what they're looking for, but if it is related to the Delphi killings, people around here are hoping it finally gives police the answers they need.
We're kind of living in scary times a little bit. Nothing actually would surprise me anymore. But I would hope that they could get this solved.
Again, Klein has not been charged in connection to the Delphi murders. It's unclear how long Indiana State Police will continue to search the river. Detectives are still searching for the man they've identified as responsible for the killing of a Dutch soldier in downtown Indianapolis. Early Saturday morning, that's when that happened. 26-year-old Simi Poet-Sema was fatally wounded and 2 other soldiers were shot on the sidewalk. It happened in front of their hotel after a dispute outside a South Meridian Street bar. The safety of the city's downtown bar district continues to be a concern as another nightclub is set to open its doors on the same street. The city of Terre Haute and Indiana American Water are gauging community interest about expanding local water services in the Terrytown area. It comes after numerous concerns from residents about well water. Officials say this is the area most in need of better water service. Terry Craig attended a forum where this topic was discussed and is here with those details. Terry.
Tonight's meeting was solely to gauge community interest, but without a lot of support from Terrytown residents, the project can't go on. Water services could expand to 430 Terrytown homes, but officials need nearly all of them to be on board to move forward with the process.
That's kind of what we were doing tonight, was just figuring out, show of hands, how many people are interested so we can go figure out the exact cost in order to move this forward.
Terrytown resident Dennis Wardenberg has lived in Terrytown for almost 30 years. He says he's comfortable with his well, but has heard complaints from neighbors about theirs.
Some neighbors around me don't like the taste of their water. I've heard of black stuff in the water, but myself, I don't have any complaints on the water.
A previous attempt to potentially expand water services in this area failed nearly a decade ago. Bennett says that was due to a lack of funding.
Just because of that cost, there was no help. There was no other funds, no state or federal funds that would help offset some of that private citizen cost, and those things are now here.
The homeowners could be faced with nearly $5,000 of potential cost, but with federal ARPA funds, that cost would drop.
This issue is all across the state. There's lots of neighborhoods that don't have local water service. They're on a well, and now there's state money and there's some federal money to help make these projects real.
If the Terrytown project draws plenty of interest, Bennett says water services could expand in other areas.
We have other areas of the city that we're going to be looking at too in the future if we're able to move this project forward.
And once again, there are still several steps that need to happen before the water service could become a reality. That includes the cost to homeowners. No official decisions were made at the forum, and there's no deadline on when residents must make a decision. Mike?
All right, thanks a lot, Terry, for that report. Well, a local school corporation is getting some much-needed upgrades. This spring, the North Vermilion Community School Corporation kicked off its $19 million construction project. Those involved say the project updated its security, classrooms, locker rooms, and bathrooms. They say almost all of North Vermilion High School will be touched in some way. Updates to the elementary school and a new community center are also being built. The construction project is expected to be completed by November of 2023. Idle Creek Golf Course is finishing renovations on an addition to its restaurant, and it will be open to the public. The 4,500 square foot building features additional capacity and a widescreen television for watching sporting events. The renovation started in April. Idle Creek developer Rick Jenkins says new additions to downtown were a catalyst for this project. He says the grand opening will be on the first day of the NFL regular season, which is September 8th. A high-ranking member of the Trump-Pence White House staff visited Vigo County this evening. Mark Short, the former chief of staff for Vice President Mike Pence, was the keynote speaker at the Vigo County Lincoln Day dinner. Before the dinner, Nicole Christine sat down with Short. She shares their discussions on the past and the current political climate.
It was an honor to get to serve in the White House.
Mark Short calls his years serving as President Donald Trump's Legislative Affairs Director and then as Chief of Staff to Vice President Mike Pence a blessing. He says the pinnacle of the team's work in the first 2 years included tax relief for Americans and the appointment of Supreme Court justices. Then, near the end of Trump's term, the focus shifted to the COVID-19 pandemic.
One of the things that the vice president, having been the former governor of Indiana, he was very careful to try to push a federalist approach, which means Our job was to provide information to governors across the country and allow them the flexibility to institute what they thought was best for their citizens. And certainly I think that the push to produce 3 vaccines within 1 year, I think, was a pretty remarkable achievement.
Now, with the height of the pandemic behind Americans, Short says the issues bringing people to the polls for the upcoming November midterms will be economically driven.
I think Americans are struggling in fighting inflation right now. I think they are struggling in paying a lot more in gas prices. I think in communities like this, farmers are struggling with high diesel prices. And I think that as you continue to see interest rates climb, it'll probably create a deeper recession in the housing market.
And Short says Hoosier politicians are having an outsized influence on the federal government.
Many of your delegation today, I think, continue to gain in seniority. I think Todd Young being on the ballot is certainly something that I think Hoosiers can be proud of as far as his record of service. And you have others who will be climbing up into different leadership positions. Jim Banks is clearly looking to run for leadership in the House, too.
As the midterms get closer and national headlines circulate on the January 6th committee hearings and the recent FBI raid of Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate, Short once again points to the economy as a way for Republicans to find success at the polls.
A lot of Americans, I think, are frustrated with what they see as a politicization of the FBI and Department of Justice. And I think that many of us can sympathize with those emotions. Having said that, I think that the stronger issues that are going to win over a larger number of independent voters are those economic issues we discussed of inflation, gas prices, recession.
Reporting in Vigo County, I'm Nicole Christine.
And for more from our sit down with Short, visit mywabashvalley.com. Well, there's a new way to find out what's happening in Terre Haute. Coming up, we'll look closer at a new app for the city. Later in sports, it's cut day in the NFL as teams trim down their rosters and get ready for the regular season. Grant drops by with the latest on Danny Etling in just a few.
Your news now on WTWO.